Welcome to SLP Nerdcast, the #1 professional resource for evidence-based practice in speech-language pathology. I'm Kate Granbois.
And I'm Amy Wonka. We are both speech-language pathologists working in the field and co-founders of SLP Nerdcast.
Each episode of this podcast is a course offered for ASHA CEUs. Our podcast audio courses are here to help you level up your knowledge and earn those professional development hours that you need. This course, plus the corresponding short post-test, is equal to 1 certificate of attendance. To earn CEUs today and take the post-test after this session, follow the link provided in the show notes or head to slpnerdcast.com.
Before we get started, one quick disclaimer. Our courses are not meant to replace clinical advice. We do not endorse products, procedures, or other services mentioned by our guests unless otherwise specified.
We hope you enjoy the course.
Are you an SLP or related professional? The SLP Nerdcast Unlimited subscription gives members access to over 100 courses offered for ASHA CEUs and certificates of attendance. With SLP Nerdcast membership, you can earn unlimited CEUs all year at any time. SLP Nerdcast courses are unique, evidence-based, with a focus on information that is useful. When you join SLP Nerdcast as a member, you'll have access to the best online platform for continuing education in speech and language pathology. Join as a member today and save 10% using code NERDCASTER10. The link for membership is in the show notes.
Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. We're so glad to have everybody here. We're really excited to welcome a guest, Jill Woods, onto the show. Usually I am here with my counterpart, Amy. Amy is out today, so I am here by myself, but I am not alone and I am not lonely. Welcome, Jill. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Kate. It's great to be here. I'm super excited.
I'm really excited. This is a topic that I am really interested in learning more about, not only for my own practice, but I know before we hit the record button, we had a really nice conversation about how important it is for private practice owners to feel comfortable and confident in marketing services and how that can create a lot of feelings of discomfort. And as clinicians, we don't get any business training. So being able to discuss all of this openly with you is going to be really, really exciting. And I'm wondering if, before we dive into the content, if you want to tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Sure. So I am a podiatrist, qualified in the UK as a podiatrist in 1995, which feels like a very, very long time ago now. But before that, I worked in marketing and PR. So I learned old school marketing and old school PR. So the real kind of in the trenches, theoretical principles and practices. So when I graduated as a podiatrist and started my own private practice, I was looking around at my competitors going, why aren't they doing that? And why are they doing that like that? And suddenly the light bulb came on and I realized, that's because I've worked in marketing before and they haven't. And we don't get any of this training when we're trained to be, whatever clinical profession we're training in, we get no training. So I ran my own private practice. I also taught on a podiatry program for a few years. And then I ended up, my life literally flipped on its head and I married a soldier in the British Army. And we suddenly started moving around all the time. And so clinically, I couldn't practice anymore. And so I had to find something else that I could do. And eventually, through lots of trial and error, I won't tell you the long, boring story, but through trial and error, I ended up in a position where I had a light bulb moment and thought, hang on, I could teach the marketing stuff I know and understand and have since honed through a couple of digital businesses and a hospitality business that I ran. I can now teach all of those skills to my fellow health practitioners. And so in 2010, I started Practice Momentum and started sharing what I know about marketing with fellow healthcare practitioners.
This is going to be so great. So your practice is called Practice Momentum, and this is really your primary focus. You're no longer a practicing podiatrist.
No, I haven't practiced I always say I haven't lifted a scalpel in anger in a very long time.
Oh my goodness. That's very different from our clinical perspective as speech pathologists. That's a very interesting phrase.
So the last patient I treated, I think, was in 2005. So it's a very long time ago.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited to talk about this. I even As I mentioned before we hit the record button, we had such a great conversation, and I'm even thinking now of all the little comments and questions that I want to ask you. But before we get started, I do need to read our learning objectives and financial disclosures. Learning objective number 1, describe the 7-point marketing cycle and how to apply it in your practice to help create effective long-term marketing strategies. Learning objective number 2, identify the 3 primary marketing principles that underpin an effective practice marketing strategy to help identify gaps in your current marketing. And learning objective number 3, identify 3 exercises to use in your practice to ensure you are attracting, connecting with, and delivering a service to the right patients. Disclosures, Jill Woods Financial Relationships. Jill is the owner of Practice Momentum, which provides marketing services for healthcare professionals. Jill Woods Non-Financial Disclosures. Jill is a licensed podiatrist. Kate, that's me. My financial disclosures, I am the owner and founder of Grand Bois Therapy and Consulting, LLC, and co-founder of SLP Nerdcast. My non-financial disclosures, I'm a member of ASHA SIG 12 and serve on the AAC Advisory Group for Massachusetts Advocates for Children. I'm also a member of the Berkshire Association for Behavior Analysis and Therapy and the Association for Behavior Analysis International and the corresponding Speech Pathology and Applied Behavior Analysis Special Interest Group. Okay, long blurb over. I can't wait to hear everything that you have to teach us. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about this 7-point marketing cycle, or what's the precursor? What is the background information we need to have about this marketing cycle?
Awesome. Okay. So the thing that I see all the time when I start working with healthcare practices is that they are doing what I call marketing spaghetti. They're literally like throwing random marketing things out there just to see if something might work. It's
For everyone who can't see my face, I'm laughing because if anybody follows us on Instagram, it's basically spaghetti. That's exactly what it is. And then marketing is not my strength at all. So carry on. I just had a little light bulb moment of like, oh, that's exactly what I'm doing. Anyway,
so you're not alone.
I'm already learning new things.
So the thing that I want to say right at the beginning is you have trained as a clinician, right? You are an expert in your field. You have not trained as a marketer. Like, you can do master's degrees in marketing. It's an enormous subject. So don't beat yourself up that you're not good at this thing. Okay. That's point number 1. But you also now have to take ownership of it and go, right, so now if I am doing marketing spaghetti, what else can I do? How can I do this differently? And so what I want to do just initially is paint the picture of marketing and what it is, so that we understand, because a lot of people think that marketing is just promotional stuff. So your social media feeds, your website, all that kind of stuff. And it's not. It's a huge subject. So marketing is made up of what we call the 7 Ps. All right. We've got promotion, product, people, pricing, processes, place, and proof. Those are the 7 Ps that sit within marketing.
That's
and anytime it's a lot, it's a huge subject. So anytime you're in your practice and you're working on your pricing structure, or you're working at developing the product that you actually deliver, the services that you deliver, that's marketing. It's not just advertising. It's not just the promotional stuff. Okay. So as we go through what we're going to be talking about now, I want you to understand that we're not just talking about promotional marketing. We're talking about all those different 7 elements that make up the whole of marketing. Does that make sense?
It does. It also really paints the picture. I mean, I've already let the cat out of the bag that I think marketing is my Instagram feed. Or that's what I did think it was.
Okay.
So that really does give the scope of how wide, how big of a topic this really is.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised to hear that product is in there too.
Yeah, your product. So product development. So developing that service, that patient experience that you're selling, that's part of your marketing activity.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm here.
Yes. Okay.
Let's do this.
So for all of your marketing, you've got one single objective, and that one single objective is to be famous locally for the thing you do. That's it. Okay. To be famous locally for the thing you do. And everything that follows that we're going to talk about now, hopefully will all lead back to that single thing. All right.
Okay.
Good. So you with me so far?
I'm here.
Yes,
I'm hook, line, and sinker.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got our 7 Ps of marketing, so we get how big it is. And the next thing I want to really talk to you about is this 7-point marketing cycle, another 7. It's not a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence anyway. But basically, all of our potential patients who are out there in some kind of pain, whether that's physical pain, emotional pain, it doesn't matter. People are out there in pain and you have the solution. So you owe it to all of those people in your local area who are struggling to get better at marketing so that they can understand that you are the person they should see for the solution to their problem. All right.
Yes. And you can see that there are words in my mouth because it's making me think of what we just talked about before we hit the record button, which is how important market viability is with a science. So in speech pathology, we are providing rehabilitation or habilitative services to people with communication disorders. They may or may not be experiencing pain, but they do have a communication disorder of some variety. And we could have the best services in the world. We could have a life-saving intervention. But if we can't sell it to them, if we can't tell people how to access those services, we're not helping to close that gap. And I know before we started talking, I, in my nerdy ways, referenced an article. There is starting to be research about this through the field of implementation science. And I'm just going to quickly plug this article for people who are interested. There is an article called Market Viability, a Neglected Concept in Implementation Science, and it was published in the Journal of Implementation Science in 2021, and it's by Proctor et al. I'll have the reference in the show notes. But what's important for me, for our listeners to take home, aside from all the knowledge that you're about to share with us, is that what I learned from this article is that marketing is not icky. It does not have to give you those uncomfortable feelings. It really is providing a health-related service that can improve your community. And without marketing and business savvy, you're not able to do that as effectively. And that's my only soapbox. This entire episode is literally all I have to offer is this one research article. So I will make sure it's listed.
Perfect. But to me, in your practice, marketing is one of the most ethical things you can do, because it's connecting you and your services to people in pain. And with the speech and language patients and clients, they're not necessarily in physical pain, but they're struggling with an emotional pain of some sort because of this communication difficulty or swallowing problems. So, it is important, but to understand that it's ethical. What I'm about to tell you is not snake oil. It's not glass smoke and mirrors. It's how marketing can help you help more people.
I love that.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this 7-point marketing cycle. So we've got 7 points. I'm going to go through them really quickly, and then I'm going to go back and talk to each one of them so you kind of understand what it is. So the 7-point cycle is made up of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. Okay. Those are the 7 points that sit on this cycle. And every single potential patient, as they convert from being a potential patient into a paying patient, they work their way around this cycle. All right. Some of them hop maybe one step, but very few hop big chunks. Most people go at some way around this cycle. So no, number one, no. People have to know you exist. So this means, are you showing up on Google Maps? Are you showing up in a Google search? Have you got something outside your business, your practice, your physical space that says we are in here, this is the practice and we're in this space? Okay, so people get to know that you exist. That's number one. Number two, like. They need to like you as a person, and we're going to dwell on this a little bit further down the line, but people buy from people, especially in healthcare. All right. And so you have to, through the means of your 7 Ps of marketing, you have to let people get to know you as a person. All right. I'm entrusting you with my health. For lots of healthcare practitioners, that means you are physically going to be in my personal space. Like, I have to like you as a person to entrust my health to you. All right. So that's step number 2.
There's a
So
lot of
number
intimacy when you're a clinician in terms of, letting someone feel vulnerable. We do a lot of counseling work in speech pathology, even though we don't necessarily get training in it. So I think that likability carries a really heavy weight. Anyway, continue.
It's really important. It's really important. And we're going to talk a lot about that a bit further down the line. The third one is trust. And this is, can they trust you as a clinician? So the likability is you as the person, the trust is you as a clinician. All right. So we're going to look at things we can do in our marketing that will help us build that trust. So have we got videos on YouTube that show before and after? Have we got reviews and patient testimonials on our website, reviews on our Google business page? Have we got that stuff there that will show that we are a trustworthy clinician? Are we talking about our CPD and our continual professional development that we're doing so people know we're keeping with the times, we're up to date, we're current? There's lots and lots of things you can do with your marketing that will help build that trust. Okay. Then the fourth thing is try. And this is missing from virtually every single practice I start working with in their marketing. And try is, can a potential patient try your expertise before they buy from you? Okay, so this looks like things like, have you got videos on YouTube demonstrating exercises people can do at home to alleviate symptoms? Okay, have you got downloads on your website, information leaflets that they can download that teaches them how to prevent injury or prevent a problem? Okay, so have you got a blog on your website where month on month, you're sharing new snippets of your knowledge, your know-how that's going to help people from a distance? Podcasts. Have you been on a podcast, okay, and done an interview to help people at a distance? And that's what the try is about. No money is exchanging hands, but you are enabling them to take a little bit of your information and try it for themselves. 9 times out of 10, they won't do it. And 9.5 times out of 10, it won't have any impact. But the fact that you are freely giving builds reciprocity. So there is this sense that I've got something for free from this expert. So now I'm going to invest a bit more in learning to get to know them a bit more. Okay.
I love that. It makes perfect sense. And I have to admit that I never would have thought of that. And even though I'm sitting here on a podcast, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's try. Then number 5 is buy. And this is the obvious bit. This is your sales process. This is the actual delivery of the service. So the arrival, if they're coming to a clinic, or the Zoom call, if you're doing a virtual appointment. But the buy section is making sure that your sales and your payment operations are really slick and easy to follow, and that your actual delivery of the service is up to par. So you're delivering what you say you are going to deliver in your promotional marketing. Okay. Then number 6 is repeat. Now, this is obviously, there's an ethical issue around this. And I always tell the story that when I very first qualified, the first practice I went to work in, we routinely rebooked our patients every 6 weeks. And I was like, oh, I don't need to see this patient in 6 weeks' time. No, that's what we do here. So I left that practice.
Yeah, because services need to be provided. I mean, that's a huge component of our ethical code too, making sure that our services are matched to the need of the patient.
Yeah. So the repeat element is only where ethically necessary, of course. But if people are willing to repeat, that's a really good indicator that they've liked what you've done, that you've really helped them, that you've had an impact. The whole experience for them has been a positive one. All right. So we need to look at repeat, and have we got any marketing activities at all where we are enabling that to be an easy process? Can existing patients come onto our website and book their next appointment online really simply? Are there things that we can do to facilitate that repeating as long as it's ethical? Okay.
Interesting.
And then the final one is refer. And this is why it's a cycle. It comes all the way around, because remember, the very first thing we talked about is know. People have to know we exist. And the last one before we get back to know is to refer. So we're going to see if there are ways we can encourage our existing patients to refer their friends, their family to us for the problems that they know we can fix.
I love this whole cycle. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm having so many thoughts about this. I mean, a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is clinical skill. And I keep having these thoughts about how this marketing cycle, if you are in private practice and looking for ways, presumably you're listening to look for ways to improve your marketing in your private practice, but thinking about the connection between that and your clinical skills. So if you don't have patients who are repeating service or who are staying in your service past when ethically and clinically appropriate,
Mhm.
you know, that's a really good indicator that maybe you do need to look at your clinical skills, or or the component of creating videos, creating materials to help people from afar. What are your clinical skills? What knowledge do you have that you can share with
Mhm.
others? I think that there's a really interesting connection there, and probably once this cycle is implemented, can give you some really nice feedback in terms of how you are doing as a clinician in your professional development. Just like a random little side note.
No, it's perfectly true, because as much as, our clinical skills are part of our service delivery, our clinical skills and the clinical outcomes that we achieve for our patients are absolutely part of that patient experience, that service, that product, however you want to call it, but they are part of it. But hopefully you'll start to see as we go through more of this that they're not the only thing. Too many practitioners cling to their qualifications and their CPD and their piece of wizardry bit of kit, the fancy bit of kit that we've got. Yeah. But in fact, the patient experience is way more than that. Okay. And so this repeat concept is not purely about clinical skills, but it is about your clinical skills. You've got to be good. You don't have to be brilliant, but you've got to be good in order to facilitate this process.
And have good rapport, that know and trust, so that someone feels comfortable repeatedly being vulnerable with you. I mean, even, a lot of what we do requires a lot of vulnerability, but I'm thinking even as my experience as a person, having gone to PT for my knee, I'm laying on the table, I'm in these weird gym shorts, it's not, I'm a patient in a clinical setting.
Yeah.
So I think all of us as humans have had that experience where we're feeling a little bit more vulnerable and wanting to make sure we're cultivating environments where the patient does feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And this whole cycle, if you kind of now stop and go back and just quickly whiz back around this cycle, getting to know you exist, to like you as a person, to trust you, to try your expertise, to buy from you, to repeat and to refer people to you. It's all about relationships. Your whole business is founded on that relationship that you can nurture from the minute they spot you on Google, or the minute they walk past your premises and see an A board outside, or the minute they see you doing a presentation at a local health group or something. From that moment, you are curating a relationship with those people. And this process facilitates that building and nurturing from somebody who doesn't even know you exist, all the way through to being an absolute advocate and referring patients to you.
Interesting. Well, I had heard the like, know, and trust, but the rest of that cycle was totally new to me. I mean, I'm not saying that I have implemented any of those things or I'm good at any of them necessarily, but that seems the whole 7-point cycle seems so comprehensive.
Yeah. And the thing to understand is that to move somebody from point 1 to point 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on, you've got to have marketing activity of some kind, so that there could be gaps. We're going to talk about that later. But you need to make sure that you've got a system and a process so that you're facilitating that progress around the cycle.
Yes, I could see unpacking each one of those points and needing to make multiple procedures or processes to support each one of them separately.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this later, but don't overthink it. Like there's simple ways to do this. You don't have to be flogging yourself mercilessly with marketing to make this effective. Okay,
I can do better. I'm here.
Okay.
Let's keep going. I'm learning so much. It's great.
Okay, so the next thing I really want to impress on people is the 3 kind of marketing success principles. These are the things that people come to me and say, Jill, can you teach me how to use Twitter? Can you teach me what to do on Instagram? What do I need to put on my website? They're so far up the curve of marketing activity. They've missed some of the fundamental basics that you need in place before that stuff will succeed. Okay. So these 3 success principles are really they're part of that foundation to make sure people have got it before they start wasting time, money, and energy on marketing that is not going to achieve their aim. All right. So your 3 marketing success principles are Number 1, clarity. Number 2, be human. And number 3, consistency. Okay. So I'm going to go back through and then unpick each one of those. So number 1, clarity. So there are 3 things that you have got to be really clear about before you start paying money for Facebook ads and before you start rebuilding your website. A, what do you want to create? Like, what is the practice you want to build?
That's such a good question. It's like a vision board kind of question.
That's it.
Right? I mean, like, what is your big picture
Correct.
goal?
Yeah.
And I assume that has many, many facets. I mean, everything from the customer patient experience to professional workplace culture to
how much money you want to make,
resolving
how much time you want to work each week.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions there.
Yeah. What kind of building do you want to work in? Yep. What kind of colleagues do you want to work with? Do you want to be in a multidisciplinary practice? Do you want a single disciplinary practice? But if you, as you go through building a business, you make decisions every single day. And you should be running every single one of those decisions through a couple of filters. And this is filter number 1. Is it moving me towards what I want to create, or is it moving me away from what I want to create? But in order to ask that question, you have to know what it is you want to create.
I feel like I need to have someone embroider that quote on my office wall in my office, because as a business owner, the phrase that we use internally here is it's so easy to get distracted by the shiny penny or a great idea or, something that is exciting to you, but not moving you towards your goal and keeping you focused. And if you are listening out there and you are a private practice owner and you've experienced this, you are not alone. I am the shiny penny. I'm constantly chasing the shiny pennies and needing to be reminded to stay focused. I love the way you framed that about putting those thoughts and decisions through a filter related to moving towards your goals. I think that's such a great perspective.
Yeah. So that's really where you need to start. If you're currently throwing spaghetti at the walls, stop, breathe. Number 1, what's your vision? Where are we going? What are we trying to create? That's the first bit of clarity that you need. The second bit of clarity, and this freaks quite a lot of clinicians out, is who is your dream patient?
Interesting.
And I'm saying this in a singular, not patients, patient. Who is your dream patient? Okay. Because if you are going to build a practice that serves you as much as it serves your patients, and as clinicians, we're hell bent on helping other people and not helping ourselves. So this is the point in the conversation where we start talking about what do we want. So if the patients that are coming into our practice are going to be our dream patient, our life is going to be much nicer, much happier, much easier, much more flow to it, much more relaxed, much more, potentially much more effective, because these might be patients who are coming with very specific pathologies that we're excluding everybody else because we really want to see these patients with a very specific pathology. Now, in the UK, I work with a speech and language therapist, and she threw her hands up when I asked this question. I was going
to say this. I can see how this gives people very uncomfortable feelings.
So, but
are you going to talk me off the ledge?
Sorry?
Are you going to talk me off the ledge?
Yeah, totally. So we talked through this process and we went back really deep. Like if I said to you, here's a roster of all of your patients, and you just quickly scanned the names, which name would you stop at when you thought, oh, they're brilliant, I love them, I love when I get to go and see them and when I work with them? Because that's going to start giving you clues as to who your dream patient is. Okay. But by the time I'd finished working with Ruth, she had said she was going to be an adult speech and language therapist. But by the time we finished, and I want to tell you, her practice is really thriving. By the time we finished, we'd narrowed that down to adult stroke survivors with speech problems. She wasn't interested in swallowing. She just wanted to do speech problems. So she now specializes, and they were at least 18 months post-stroke. So all the ones that a lot of therapists had given up on, she was the clinician for those people.
Okay. I hope we have time to sit and unpack this for a second, because I'm having a lot of thoughts and feelings, and I want to share them with you. So I'm thinking first and foremost about first of all, in our profession, we're often expected to be generalists. So we are expected in a school setting, often, or in an outpatient hospital setting, to treat what walks through the door, treat who's on your caseload. We're expected to be expert. Our scope of practice is incredibly wide, and we talk about that on this podcast a lot. When you're in private practice, you have a little bit more control over your caseload, but I have to assume that these uncomfortable feelings are either rooted in the expectation that we are generalists, or in feeling that it is unethical to turn someone away who needs our help. So how do you navigate that discomfort with ethics? I know when I first started my practice, I remember getting worried that if I turned someone away, they would sue me for some sort of discrimination against, not providing a service that I was qualified to provide. I mean, now as a more seasoned clinician, I understand that scope of competence is really important, and I cannot just treat everything regardless of whether or not it falls under my license. But what is the advice you have for anybody listening who is having that moment of discomfort because they feel that they are ethically obligated to treat everybody who gets referred to them?
Yeah. So I think there's two things here. There's the personal feeling of, I just want to help everybody. And there's the ethical piece. So I want to just backtrack a little bit. So the way that you choose your dream patient, it doesn't have to be through a clinical pathology like Ruth did. It can be by a person type. So again, let's helicopter above your practice and let's look at your marketing assets. You've got a website, you've got a social media profile, you've probably got a premises of some sort. Maybe you are going out and doing talks and all the rest of it. Maybe you've got a blog on your website. You've got all this stuff going on. I am a patient and I come to your website and I've got about 10 seconds before I decide I'm in the wrong or the right place. Now, if you are trying to make the homepage of your website attract everyone, it's going to fail miserably. Okay, there's a fantastic, Seth Godin is a marketing god, and he has a quote that says, if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to no one.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's kind of point number one, is that you don't have to go by pathology, you can go by person type. So what I mean by that is, for example, you might say, actually, I want to target young mums who are inexperienced, maybe it's first child, they're nervous about developmental issues. That's going to be my target audience, okay? And if you do that, then I can make the homepage of my website really resonate with that woman. I can make my social media profile resonate with that woman. I can make my physical surroundings resonate with that woman when she walks in the door. It doesn't have to be pathology specific. It can be person type. Does that make sense? And answer part of that question.
It does. I'm not sure I'm feeling any less uncomfortable.
Anxious. Okay. The two other things.
Keep going. Yeah. I know you're going to get me there.
So ethically, let's talk about ethically and ethics. So in medicine, who are the people in the senior positions in your industry? Usually, they're the people that specialize. Okay. They're the people that specialize, and those are the ones who are respected in their industry. They might be hospital consultants, they might be private consultants, they might be surgeons, they might be whoever they might be. But usually those people have specialized in some area of clinical practice to become super good at that very small thing. Okay. Those are the people that we really entrust with our health because they've become specialist. They are day by day turning away patients that are not their niche market, if you want to put it into marketing terms.
You're right.
Those
I'm
people
just realizing that, and that's not, I think the only thing that makes it feel uncomfortable is because it's through the marketing lens, but that's absolutely true of all aspects of medicine. I do not go to a knee doctor for my elbow pain. No, it's a weird analogy, but
but you get the idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Okay, I
So-
feel
so
better.
I-
Keep going. Keep
So
going.
I've just had some dental work done. I had an abscess behind a tooth. So I went to my dentist and my dentist said, no, not my bag. You need to go and see an endodontist. I went to the endodontist and they said, no, not my bag. You need to go and see a anyway, what the other
Periodontist?
that one of them.
The other dentist.
And eventually I got to the right person who specializes in opening your gum up and taking all the gunge out and all of that stuff. Like I would not entrust that procedure to my dentist. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I see it now. And I think that this perspective is very complementary to what we talk about clinically all the time about your scope of competence, that if you are interested in developing a specialty, and in speech pathology, we have many because our scope of practice is so wide. And I often talk about how I'm an AAC specialist, and I always put it in air quotes because it's just an area of clinical specialty, not necessarily a certification. But I'm no longer qualified to treat someone with a stutter. I haven't treated someone with a stutter since I didn't even do it in graduate school through my clinical placement. So there is a component of ethical behavior when you are, in other words, when you first started this conversation, it felt uncomfortable, but it's actually more as you spin it through a clinical competency lens, it's more ethical to turn people away who don't fall within your targeted scope of competence than it is to market and take everybody and put everyone on your caseload.
Correct.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So you're feeling like you're a step back from the ledge now.
Yes, I'm way back from the ledge, and I see a beautiful view. It's a beautiful vista way back from the ledge.
So the final element of this is if we go back to the marketing. So we've kind of got over the clinical thing. We go back to the marketing. If you imagine 3 concentric circles, there's a red circle, and then outside that there's a white circle, and outside that there's a blue circle. Okay, in the UK, that's our Royal Air Force insignia. But in the red circle, these are your dream patients. They're in the middle. Okay. Now, if you start building a clinical experience, you hone your clinical skills to serve these patients better. You make your website attractive to them. You think about them on your social media and your Google profile. You're going to start to attract more of those patients. Okay. But what happens? We move out to the white circle. You're going to attract patients who are a lot like those patients too. And the people in the blue circle are people who are quite like those patients. So you're going to attract them too. So it's focusing on one person is not at the exclusion of absolutely everybody else. But what you're doing is kind of pinning your colors to the mast and saying, these are the patients I get good results for. These are the patients I enjoy seeing. These are the patients who, get a good for me, good for my business, and what I can do is good for them.
That's what I was going to say. Those are the people that you serve best. Those
Correct.
are the
That's
people
the word I was looking for.
Are best matched to your clinical products. I mean, what's so interesting about this is it's so much of what we already know and do. It's just reframed with different vocabulary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of targeting a customer, we would say, a target patient, we would say someone who with a clinical presentation within your scope.
Yeah.
Or within your area of clinical expertise, but it's the same. It's just a different spin.
Yeah. And so ethically, you are the best, you're the best person to treat this patient, but you're not the best person to treat that patient. Therefore, you should be referring that patient on. You shouldn't be seeing some of those patients in your practice. And you probably do that already. You might, if you get a stutter patient, you might say, no, that's not my bag. But I know somebody who can help you. Here's a quality referral. I'm not just shutting the door in your face. Here's a quality referral. Go and see so-and-so, and they will be able to help you. So it's
I feel so much better. I feel so much better.
Yes. Cool.
Good job.
High five. Okay. So you need to identify that one person. And I always say to my patient, my clients, give them a name. So every single time you're doing something with your marketing, you're saying, would Jennifer like this? Would this work for Jennifer? Would this help Jennifer? And you're thinking about doing more CPD.
An avatar.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I get some of my clients are mad on Pinterest, and I get them to set up a Pinterest board for their dream patient, and you can put their car and their house and their holidays and their kids and their husbands and and you can build a real picture of who this person is, because the more you know and understand them, the better. Here's your second filter: the better your dream patient filter becomes.
Okay.
So
what's the second? The first filter, just to recap,
is
the first filter is this decision moving me towards my goal? And what's the second filter?
Would this help or serve Jennifer? Would she like it? Would she appreciate it? Would she be prepared to pay for it? There's the dream patient filter.
Okay, so what I'm doing going to help my avatar, my dream patient?
Correct. Or serve them better. It doesn't have to be help in a clinical term. It could be, am I moving to new premises that's got better parking? That would serve them better. It's a wider picture than just the clinical stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. I see it. I see the whole vista.
Yes.
I think.
Okay. So, and then we've kind of overlapped with the third bit of clarity, but the third bit of clarity is, how do I help them? So clarity number one, what do I want to do? What's my big vision? Clarity number two, who is my dream patient? And clarity number three, how do I help them? And this is where you start looking at that wider patient experience and saying, am I running my appointments at an appropriate time for them? Are my clinical facilities appropriate for them? Can they easily get their buggies or their strollers in, or whatever it might be? You're looking to serve that patient better, okay? And so that is your third bit of clarity. How do we best serve these people?
And when you are out of those three, is one more important than the other, or do they always go in that sequence?
I would personally always put them in that sequence, because until you're clear about your big vision of what you want to achieve with the practice, who your dream patient is not going to be obvious. And then if you don't know who your dream patient is, you can't say how you're going to serve them. So they need to come in that order. Okay. You can't say how you're going to serve somebody if you don't know who they are and what their likes and dislikes. And, and it's down to things like before COVID, what magazines have you got in your waiting area? Right. You would choose those based on who your dream client is.
Interesting. This is a really important filter.
Yes.
Okay. And you know what? The next time I go to the PT office, the next time I go to the endodontist or wherever I'm going, I'm going to be looking around and wondering if I'm Jennifer.
Exactly. What's going to happen? Exactly. All right. So hopefully that clarity makes sense. Yes.
Yes, it does. I'm here. Yep.
We're clear. Okay. So once you've got that clarity, then you can move on to the next bit. And the next bit, with the next kind of marketing success bit, is to be human. All right. And this is super simple. People buy from people, especially in healthcare. We're invading people's space. We're asking them to be intimate and vulnerable with us. So this is really important. And I see too many healthcare practices who their profile picture on Instagram is their logo.
Guilty.
Yeah. I want to see your face. Like, who am I going to see when I come to the practice? All right.
What would you say for practices, though, who have multiple clinicians working for them?
That's amazing. You can do some really fun stuff. I've got as an example, I've got a fantastic photograph, which was taken in a surgical unit. And they've basically got a surgical light above them, and they've all stood around in a circle. And it's a circle photograph of all their heads in a circle with the light in the middle. It's stunning. It's a brilliant,
that's beautiful. Photograph. So including your staff, including multiple human aaspects of your business.
Yeah. Or you can do fun stuff. The other one that I've seen that's really good fun is they've taken a picture on a timer thing, and they've got all their staff out at sunset, and they're all just stood in a line, and it's just their silhouettes, but they're real.
That's so nice. But they're people. They're not a logo.
It's the real people. Yes.
Okay.
You're starting to remember, it's all about relationships. We need human connection to build relationships.
Yep. Oh man, I'm failing in this bad. It's okay. It's a learning moment. We're here. Yeah.
This is why we're here.
It's okay. Good.
So don't hide behind your logos, and also be prepared to share a little bit of you. Remember, people have got to like you as a person. Okay. Right. So share a little bit about what makes you tick. Are you a dog owner? Do you like yoga? What do you do, like crafting for a hobby? Do you love gardening? Do you go hiking? Are you a skier? Are you adrenaline junkie? Are you? And any of those things that you feel you have in common with Jennifer, those are the things that you should be talking about, because that's going to pull more of those Jennifers towards you.
It also goes, this is so funny. It's like worlds colliding, because we've talked about this recently on an episode, funny enough, about stuttering and how important it is to let down some of those boundaries and be a human in therapy to create safe spaces for people to have more improved therapeutic interactions. And so again, here we are. It's the same, but through a marketing lens, and how important that is for your entire practice. I'm having little brain explosion emojis happen as you're talking about all of these things.
That's exactly why we're here, why we're doing this. So it's super important to be prepared. You're asking your patients to be vulnerable with you. It's very important that you, to an extent, can be a little bit vulnerable with them, all right, at the outset, even before you've met them. So some of the stuff you put on social media, here's me on a dog walk first thing in the morning, look at this gorgeous sunrise, all of that kind of stuff. Or, oh my God, I just dropped the box of eggs all over the floor. Who else has done that when you've opened the fridge? Just some of those little honest snippets that give people insight into who you are as a person. Okay.
Right.
Yes. But this comes with a warning.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
The home page of your website is all about the patient, not about you.
Right. That makes sense.
Because Jennifer, I come to your website, and on your website, if you're talking about me, if you're talking about young mums, toddler tantrums, pathologies that I'm as a new mum I'm worrying about,
right?
I've come home. I'm in the right place. If I land on your website and all you're telling me is about, I've been qualified for 27 years and I did my first degree at such and such a university, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. Yeah.
Oh man, I have a lot of work to do.
Okay. But
this is great. No, it's so important. I think, and again, going back to how we were trained as clinicians. So thinking about to my graduate school experience, not only was I told explicitly to keep boundaries with patients and tell them nothing about myself, I was also told that I was the expert and that I was the one who knew everything. And now, as an experienced clinician, that nobody wants to hear about those things. That just says nothing but ego. It has nothing but, there's no human softer element to that at all. And so when you, again, just looking at the same things that we always say clinically, but through a marketing lens about how important it is to connect with your patient and say things that are clinically relevant, but not, I know everything. Look at all my degrees. Look at all the training I've had. You're right. That's not helpful, because it's not humble at all.
There's a place for that, but it's not the homepage of your website.
Interesting. Okay.
Absolutely. It's hard work getting a clinical qualification. Like, you've got your certificate in a big frame on the wall. Take a photograph of that and share that on your social media, but don't put it on the homepage of your website and don't ram it down people's throats.
Right.
It's painting. It's those gentle strokes that paint a picture.
Another quote to be embroidered on my wall. I'm going to have to start writing these down.
All right. So we're getting a bit sidetracked, but your homepage is not about you. It's about the patients.
Okay.
Your about page is where you tell people about you. Okay. So the key with your about page is this a few things. First of all, each of those paragraphs that are about you, about the person you work with, about your receptionist, about, they should be written by that person in the first person. So I, me, my, not Kate this, Kate that, Kate the other. Okay. And the skill in doing this is to get them to write it and then read it aloud. And when they read it aloud, does it sound like them speaking? Or are they using long, flowery words that they would never use in conversation?
Okay.
Try and make it as personal as possible on that page. So about sections written in the first person by the person. some really great photographs that's not just you in your polo shirt or your uniform or whatever it is you wear in clinic, but it's you walking the dog, or it's you like being mum taxi to 4 teenage kids. You don't have to put your kids in the photographs, but just that whole paint that picture. What have you got in common with Jennifer? Paint that in some pictures that are on your about page on your website. Okay. And keep the qualifications to the end. Absolutely put them in that section, but people don't really care, so they can just go at the end. Here's a rabbit hole. We're just going down another rabbit hole very quickly. What people care about is, I have a problem. I want that transformation. They don't give a what comes in the middle. Okay. If I can see that you understand my pain, and I can see that you've done this for other people and you've created this transformation for other people in my similar situation, then I'm going to invest some more time in getting to know you better. Okay. So the qualifications and stuff are nice to have, but in that initial engagement, they're not essential. Okay. So they can be on the about section, but they can be at the bottom of your blurb, like, oh, by the way, I've been qualified 27 years or whatever it might be. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Does that make sense?
You're qualified for 27 years doesn't mean you're a nice person.
Or you're any
that
good,
somebody is going to make
clinically.
you feel comfortable. Right. Exactly.
So does that make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense.
Awesome. So then just another couple of things about this being personal. Videos, if you're brave enough to do videos are a great way of connecting with people. I can look you in the eye. I can get a sense from your body language, your vibe, your energy. All of that stuff comes through on video. So videos are a great marketing tool to use if you are comfortable in front of the camera. If you're just going to stand there and read really rigidly from a note like this, it's not going to serve you at all. All right. You've got to be somebody who's comfortable in front of the camera, and you can learn that. That's not inherent. You can learn that stuff. So that's fine.
Okay.
And just remembering all of this, people have got to decide if they like and trust you. So you need both elements, clinical and personal. Make that combination work. Okay.
Yep.
Right, so that's number 2. And then number 3, the marketing thing that you must get right is consistency. And this means 2 things.
Spaghetti. It means no spaghetti.
It means no spaghetti, but it means 2 things. You need to be consistent with your branding. We've not talked about branding at all, but you need to be consistent with your branding. Now, remember back at the beginning, I said the objective is to be famous locally for the thing that you do. So your branding has 2 elements to it. It's got visual branding, which are your colors, your logo, your fonts, all of that stuff that you use consistently, hopefully. And then you've also got your brand messaging. And these are your strapline that you use everywhere. You create a value statement that you use as your bio on every single social media profile. Every time you write something, you include that strapline or a bit from your bio. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. Think about the big brands, and they are constantly running ads that just share one thing over and over and over and over.
I'm thinking of Nike Just Do It.
Correct. That was exactly, it's a perfect example. Perfect example.
Interesting. Okay.
So you've got to show up consistently with a consistent message in order to be famous locally for the thing you do.
Okay.
Yeah?
We can do that. I'm thinking about all the listeners who are listening, and I'm here by myself. I'm thinking, you've got so much wisdom, and I need to be furiously taking notes about all of these things, but I love that. I think that the consistency piece is so simple, but maybe so hard to do.
So, and it is hard, but I've got a little get out of jail free card. So consistency, first of all, get consistent with your branding before you start running Facebook ads, and before you start building a new website, and before you do put money, time, and energy into all the other marketing stuff. Get consistent with your branding so that all the stuff you do going out is going to be accurate, is going to work, is going to talk to Jennifer, is going to do the job you need it to do.
Okay, I can do that. I'm feeling very motivated.
And the second bit of consistency is actually showing up. All right.
You mean like showing up to work?
This is with your promotional marketing and with your product development and all of that other stuff. Okay. So, but as an example, with regard to your promotional marketing, there's timelines to marketing. So if I say to you, are you showing up on social media every day? Okay, in your practice, are you sharing something on social media every day? Quick sideline. If you know Jennifer, you know which social media platform she's on, just use that one platform. Scrap the rest. Okay. Don't waste your time, money, and energy going down all the Facebook or wherever, all those other rabbit holes. You only need the platform where the eyeballs of your dream patients are.
Okay.
Okay. So are you showing up social media daily? Are you showing up on your Google business profile weekly and sharing new content on there on a weekly basis? Are you sending out email communication to your patient cohort and your potential patients on a monthly basis? Are you creating some kind of new content on your website or on your YouTube channel on a monthly basis? And are you going to live events quarterly? And are you maybe running some bigger marketing campaigns once every 6 months? Those kind of timelines, you need to start showing up consistently with a consistent message.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I can feel a lot of the energy and time requirements, but I can also see how necessary and how beneficial that could be.
Yeah. So and again, there's an order to this. So start with your branding, get your brand messaging and your visual branding done, sorted, done, and then move on and start showing up and commit to showing up and start at the bottom of that list. So but I commit to posting something daily on social media. Okay. Or if you're already doing that, go up a level. Okay. I commit to posting weekly on my Google business profile. Okay. If you're already committing to that, what's the next one? I commit to monthly getting in touch and communicating with my patients via email. Okay. And you just work your way up that sort of ladder, if you like. Okay. Now, the thing here is you do not have to do this all. You can outsource, you can delegate. This is not all on you. All right. As long as I can still see your face and I can potentially hear your voice in your marketing, it doesn't have to be you doing the doing.
Right. We like to delegate. We need to embrace delegating.
Delegation
in a small private practice owners.
And outsourcing. Because outsourcing is going to get you people who know what they're doing. They're skilled at that thing, whether it's Instagram or whether it's video editing or whatever it is. And you can find people who will do that for a fraction of the price. So outsourcing is perfectly doable within the budget that you've already got. Like you can start somewhere with some of this stuff. That's my my cycle of 7 elements of marketing and the 3 founding principles of marketing that are going to make sure that your marketing is effective.
That all it makes perfect sense. And I'm looking at our learning objectives and wondering how this ties into the exercises, and I assume those are like action steps?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. Okay. So number 1, so I've got three kind of actions or exercises or action steps for you that you can have a go at doing. So number 1, not surprisingly, probably is going to be to create your patient avatar.
Okay.
So literally get a cup of tea, because I'm British, we drink tea, but it doesn't matter. Get a cup of something, coffee, if you're American. Get a cup of tea, get a blank piece of paper, and just sit quietly with no distractions and start to think about who is this person? Who is the person that I can serve best? Who is the person that I can enjoy spending time with? Who is the person I'm going to get good clinical outcomes from? Who is the person I can connect with on a personal basis? Who is that person? And just with a blank sheet of paper, just start writing. Write random stuff that comes into your head. Who is she? Who is he? What do they do for a living? Do they have a family? Are they married? Are they not married? Where do they live? What kind of house do they live in? What hobbies do they have? What blogs do they read? What podcasts do they listen to? You know, just brain dump all of this kind of stuff onto a page. So you're starting to really scratch the surface on this person so you can understand them.
Okay. And that, I mean, I would imagine that this exercise is critically important for your second filter, right? I mean, all of those steps that you've taught us through, because
Correct.
You can't ask whether or not something you're doing helps Jennifer if you don't know who Jennifer is.
Correct. So that is the first thing I would encourage. If you've never done this before, there'll be some resistance. Often clients are like, oh, can I not have 5? No, You get one. You can have one dream patient, and you need to literally get inside their head and learn who they are. And you can do it with a piece of paper and a pencil and just some time to figure out who this person is. And once you know her or him or them, it doesn't matter. You can then use that information to make sure that your promotional marketing, your product development, everything can be run through that filter so that you are going to become famous locally for the thing that you do, because you're serving that person with real intent. Okay.
I love how all of these things come full circle.
Yeah. It's like magic.
It's all connected.
You'd have thought I might have planned this, maybe.
Not like you do this for a living or anything.
Of course. Okay. So that's kind of like, that's number one. That's the activity number one that you can go away and have a go, is really spend some time getting clear on who that person is, because that is really going to serve you well going forward. All right. And I say you can be specific about the person and or pathology. It's entirely up to you. You get to choose.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Action step number one. I can do that.
Yes. Okay. Number two, we're going to run an audit for personality and human touch. Okay.
Audit, like looking at your own goodies.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So we're going to look at your website. We're going to look at your social media. We're going to look at your very first patient email. What's your welcome email that you're sending out to your patients? Do they get a sense of you, or is it really formal? Right.
Well, as of this moment, they don't get one at all. So maybe that's something I have to do too. I hope everyone listening is having many of these light bulb moments so that I don't feel so alone and vulnerable as I sit here and learn with you. But anyway, move on.
You are not, having done this for over 10 years, I can guarantee you are not alone. Not
it's
alone
like email. Whoops. Okay. Just totally forgot.
So this is going to blow your mind then. So your new patient information pack.
Yep.
Okay. Does that feel personal? Can I see a photograph of you in that information pack, whether that's digital or a paper thing that you're sending out in the post to new patients? So you need to audit all of those kind of touches that you're doing in your marketing and see, is there an element of personality? Okay. Because don't be afraid to share some of your personality. If you're a bit hyper like me, all right, if it's not there at the moment, but if you'd have gone to my website literally a few weeks ago, the picture on the front page is me hula hooping in a field. Like, that's me. That's kind of like who I am. And I'm not hiding behind a stiff shirt and high heels and being very corporate and marketing. Like, you get who I am in my business, right?
Right. That's so important.
So run an audit of what you're currently doing. And the two kind of elements you're looking for are personality and human touch. So human touch is, can I see you? Can I hear you? But also personality. Am I getting a feel that you're fun, that you're relaxed, that you're outgoing, or that you're a details person, or that you're into your research? And that's a big thing for you, doing research-based medicine. It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to be starting to portray that in your marketing.
Yep. I can see how all of that is connected to all of the things, all of the filters, all of the the foundational perspectives. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
All right. You've given us 2 action steps. Yep. I haven't done either of them. And I have, what's the third one? I'm dying to know.
And the third one, we've already touched on the third one, but the third one is to look at the list of consistent marketing and commit. I would love if everybody listening to this podcast in the comments could leave a comment that basically said, today I commit to one of those levels of marketing. Okay. Because it's that commitment to consistency. So is it going to be every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every 6 months? What on that scale are you going to commit to? Put it in the comments. Kate, I'm sure will watch.
Oh no.
I might lurk.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to have to comment.
I'm going to come. I'll come back and lurk and see what people are doing. But you've got to start being consistent. And the only way you're going to start being consistent is to make a commitment. Now, whether you make that commitment to Kate and I, or whether you make that commitment to somebody else in your practice or somebody in your family or your best friend, it doesn't matter. But you need some accountability so that you are then going to do it. Otherwise, you'll procrastinate, you won't do it, it'll get lost in the melee of everything else that's going on in the practice, and it won't happen. But the
and I have to
secret to marketing is consistency.
And I'm sorry that I interrupted you,
Sorry.
but I have to assume that those who are listening may have the same experiences that I've had, in that the marketing piece genuinely feels a little uncomfortable or feels a little unnatural. So I just don't do it. Or I avoid it, or it gets pushed down on my to-do list, or it's not as important as my billing or the patients that I have scheduled, or my employee who needs my support, or, add it to the list. When you're when you're a small business owner, you wear a million hats.
That's it.
So, and I know, go ahead.
That's why the vision, the starting point, is so important. Because if I am hell-bent on achieving that, then that becomes my filter. And that means that I understand that I am going to have to create some new digital content once a month, because I need something to talk about on my social media. I need something to talk about on my Google business profile. I need something to email my clients about. So if I know that, because I've got this big vision, this is where we're going, guys. This is what our practice is going to be. And it can be practice stroke life. The two are very closely intermeshed. But you probably can't see, I've got a vision board on my wall.
No, you don't.
I do.
It's beautiful. For everybody listening who can't see, there's this beautiful thing hanging in her office that's got a frame and all of these photos and some beautiful quotes that I can't quite read, but I'm sure are very inspiring.
In the middle, it just says, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Yes, it does. It always seems impossible until
the point I want to make is that vision board is a mix of my business and my personal and home life. So it's a whole melee of because the two are so closely connected.
They're so closely connected when you own a business, and your business, the way I explain it to people is that the business sometimes feels like my third child. It's something that I'm up at night worrying about, and I am constantly trying to make sure it's okay. And I think I have taken away so much from everything you have shared. And I also need to find someone to embroider some things for my office. And now I need to also get a vision board to keep me focused. Because as I have already admitted, the shiny penny gets me every time. And staying focused can be really, really challenging.
If you've got that clarity, like of what you're trying to achieve, and you anchor everything to that, it takes away some of that chasing rabbits and squirrels. Yeah. Because but you've got to have an awareness, like watching this YouTube video of America's Got Talent. Is that moving me towards my vision or away from my vision? It's certainly not moving me towards it, right?
Not toward, exactly. But I think even your recommendation of taking a minute to write down the vision or really consider the vision. I mean, I think a lot of us get into private practice because we want to help, because we want the flexibility, because we want to be our own boss, because we're interested in business, because we have a clinical expertise that we think is of value to our communities. Yeah. But the actual exercise of sitting down and writing down what we want. I mean, I've never done it. I'm sure there's someone listening who has done it, but I'm also willing to bet there are a lot of business owners out there who haven't done it. No. I think even starting there is such wonderful advice.
Yeah, that's my experience. Is often if you ask people, what do you want? They can't tell you. They don't know.
Don't ask me.
But every day, every day they're getting up and they're dedicating hours of their life that they'll never get back, money that they've, hard-earned money, to build something that they don't actually know what they're building and what they're working towards. But yet unwittingly, every single day they invest time, money, and energy in the thing, without actually thinking through what is it.
It needs a name, and it needs some legs. It needs some structure. It needs a vision board. Now I'm never going to snarkily laugh about a vision board ever again for the rest of my life. I so appreciate all of this. Before we wrap up, do you have any final words or words of advice, parting words of wisdom for people in the audience?
I would just say, I know we've covered a lot of ground today, so I'm very aware that probably people's heads might be exploding just a little bit. But I would say, nobody is born knowing this stuff. You have trained to be a clinician. You have not trained to be a marketer. I was very fortunate that I trained in marketing before I trained to be a podiatrist, but you haven't got those skills, but you can choose to start somewhere. And if you choose today to be that day, then I am going to champion you. I will be here cheering you on all the way, because I know what an impact good marketing can have in your practice and in your personal life. Like if your practice is flourishing, you're less stressed, you've got more available cash, like you can take more time off. Like if you've got a flourishing practice that comes from good, solid marketing, your life is transformed.
That's, again, such wonderfully sage advice. And I'm so, so grateful. Thank you so much for being here and teaching me so much, teaching our audience so much. Everybody who is listening, Jill is obviously a wealth of knowledge. You are available to our audience for questions. This is your business. This is what you do. All of your contact information and practice information will be listed in the show notes. You also have a YouTube channel that I will admit I was creeping on it before I had a chance to meet you and ask you questions. Your YouTube channel has so much more information on it in case anybody does want to learn more. Thank you so, so, so much for joining us today. This was a real treat.
It's my absolute pleasure. I love what I do, and I feel very blessed to be able to do this as a job. And so, yeah, just thanks ever so much, Kate, for inviting me. I'm very, very grateful.
Well, it was wonderful to have you. Thanks again. Thank you so much for joining us in today's episode. As always, you can use this episode for ASHA CEUs. You can also potentially use this episode for other credits depending on the regulations of your governing body. To determine if this episode will count towards professional development in your area of study, please check in with your governing bodies, or you can go to our website, www.slpnerdcast.com. All of the references and information listed throughout the course of the episode will be listed in the show notes. And as always, if you have any questions, please email us at info@slpnerdcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to welcome you back here again soon.